Well, welcome everyone to the July edition of Tennessee Turf Tuesday. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Jim Brosnan, here with UT. This is one we're, as a team here, really excited about this month. It's our first ever alumni feature. We've got one of our former students here with us, Jimmy Humston from the Lido. Excited to have him here. We've got the whole turf team on the call today to talk to Jimmy about what he's got going on up in Wisconsin. Before we do that, though, I know there's business everybody's interested in, so I'll take care of that, and then we'll get into our time with Jimmy. In terms of pesticide credits, you have done everything you need to do to get your pesticide credit to this point. When you registered for today's session, you were asked what state you wanted your credit in and to provide your license number. We will use that information to generate a roster that will be sent to your state agency within the next 24 hours. So as long as you stay with us for the duration of the hour, you will get your pesticide credit turned into the state for which you need it. If there's any issues with credits not posting on state websites, that's a little bit out of our control here at the university, but we do maintain historical records of the rosters that are submitted. So we can help you on that front if needed. The key piece is that you stay with us for the duration of the session. I will do my best to make sure that we are wrapped up and out of here by 12:30 Eastern time. Should remind everyone, as is the case with all of our Turf Tuesdays, these are recorded sessions. The recorded audio will go on our Apple Podcast feed, and then the video and audio will go on our UT Turfgrass YouTube channel, which has been kind of refreshed thanks to one of our extension specialists, Anna Duncan. She's really breathed some new life into that. So if you haven't gone to the YouTube channel and seen it, you can check it out and see all the stuff that's posted there. And then last but not least, for questions today, you'll see a Q&A box on the bottom of the screen. We ask that you use that Q&A box to ask any questions you may have during our time together. This allows us to kind of keep everything organized. We're going to do our best to filter any questions to Jimmy so we can talk about them aloud. And in the event we do miss one, we can type our response there. So if you have any questions as we go through this, you can certainly use that Q&A box and we should be good. I think that does everything in terms of business. As mentioned, our guest today is Jimmy Humston from the Lido. Thanks for joining us, Jimmy.
I certainly appreciate the invite. It's an honor to be here as the first alumni of the Tennessee Plant Science.
Yeah, we need to like get you a special pin or something, like first alumni guest of our alumni series. Man, you've been so when did you graduate? I'm getting old, I forget things.
Um, I went to Austin P first with a business degree, got done there in 2007, and then enrolled at Tennessee 08. Fall was my first semester, graduated in spring of 11. So,
Okay. So yeah, we started about the same time because I started in
right.
08 and then you you probably had because Brandon, you were 09, right? Was your first year? Yeah, so you were all kind of on similar trajectories except for old man Sorokin.
Yep. It was
He was there
I
before
got
the bridge went in. He always used to tell us.
yeah.
So Jimmy, tell a little bit. I mean, we've got on these sessions, we're joined often by some lawn care folks across our state and others, extension professionals. I'm sure some of your superintendent colleagues will be on here because we do have GCSAA certification credits for these sessions too. Um, give the folks that are listening just a little bit of your background and in terms of like, let's call it something real hokey. What's your turf story, Jimmy? Tell us about your turf journey.
Well, I was born and raised in East Tennessee there, close by in Johnson City. And essentially growing up, my parents discovered that the cheapest form of childcare was to buy the $450 family membership at the local municipal. And so from about 7 a.m. to dark, myself and two older brothers were just dropped off at the golf course, and the poor golf staff there, we thought we were the greatest kids, and we're out there on the golf course all day, but we were looking for quarters under the vending machines all day. Who can talk the grill chef into giving us free French fries, because we didn't have any money. And so we'd go hunt balls all day. So that was kind of my introduction to golf. And obviously that turned into playing competitive golf as a junior, teenager, and into college. So I started working on a golf course in high school. And at about that time, driver's license, first girlfriend, and among other things, my golf game started to tank. And that's when my love for working on the course really developed. I was always kind of a kid who liked to mow the yard, and get out and work outside. So that passion for that kind of overtook the passion to play. And so throughout my transition at Austin P, I was a Division I golfer, and my game was probably one of the worst Division I golfers in college history. But I was on the team. I recorded tournament scores in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s. So I'm convinced that that's got to be an NCAA record. So 2 years in a row at our home tournament, I accomplished that feat, and I actually shot 100 even right on the number on my 21st birthday. And then
Wow.
then that night, you can imagine what ensued. They made last call at 11:50, 10 minutes before my birthday. And so that's at that point I determined, I want to be a superintendent. I was already kind of chasing the process of enrolling at Tennessee at that time. So it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm a night owl, and getting up in the morning kind of keeps that at bay for me. So it's just kind of my story of just growing up on the golf course like many superintendents did, just spending all day out there, just getting sunburned and drinking Mountain Dew and just being a kid.
And you put your time in kind of, you didn't jump right to the Lido from UT. I know you spent some time, I think, at Tennessee National, right? You worked over there for a little bit. I know you were at
Arkansas,
the golf club in Tennessee for a little while. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple other places.
Arkansas, right? Went to
Right.
Arkansas.
So I started at a muni that has since been closed, unfortunately, Buffalo Valley and Unicoi, Tennessee. Then Diamond Creek in North Carolina was my first internship. Then Augusta for my good co-op semester. Then we did Golf Club of Tennessee out of school for 4 years with Jeff and Matt over there. Just saw their new course. I was cruising through Tennessee last week and stopped in. They've done an amazing job there. And really, started at Nashville there with those guys, and spent 4 years there and just loved it. I didn't want to leave, but I knew I had to at some point to, as this career goes, you got to be willing to move a little bit. So then from there went to Little Rock at the Alotian Club, and I think it was probably, obviously Golf Club and Alotian are bent grasses in the transition. Both environments are just a tough 100 days, and but that's what I loved. Still one of my passions is just managing bent grass throughout a summer stress period, and we don't have that here. I mean, when Wisconsinites or people in this region talk about heat stress, I just kind of what are you talking about? When our forecast goes up into the upper 80s, everybody's worried about lithium and all this. And 3 days after that, the morning temperature is like 52 degrees. So, but I think it was that in Arkansas, I think I kind of hit a burnout point with just the, when you like y'all were talking about here as we were warming up, opening your door in the morning and it's 79 degrees, and you kind of suffocate for a minute. So I came up here to see this site. I'd interviewed for I think 13 different superintendent jobs, from very high profile to kind of your average country club. Had been offered one job that I turned down, and then I'd come here to check this place out. And I really think it was on July 1st of 2018. And the place I was staying, they put this, it was in this cool little Airbnb. And I woke up in the morning and I turned on the sink to brush my teeth. And, I was letting the sink run to them. And I put my hands under that water. And the water was like ice cold. And I was like, man, this is so refreshing. And then I got out that morning, it was 45 degrees on July 1st. And it was a very casual interview course tour. I had on just a polo shirt, Rob, the director, I showed up and, he met me in the parking lot. It was 4:30 in the morning. He's like, here, let me get you a jacket. And I'm like, no, this feels so good right now. And just that refreshment of Wisconsin really stuck with me after I saw the property and just the how crisp it felt here. And like I said, that is certainly different management, of the grass. And, we have different challenges here, certainly than, wrestling bent grass throughout the summertime like those guys do down there.
Yeah, and I'll bring up a picture here really quick for those that are with us on Zoom. This won't translate to those listening in the future on podcast, but I mean, this is a photo you shared of your site, right? I mean, you're pretty sandy location, but that's kind of a signature for the resort you're at, being Sand Valley, correct?
Yes, it is. So we're in the central sands of Wisconsin, a prehistoric glacial lake. And when when the ice age melted out, there was a lake formed here. And then the Wisconsin Dells, which is I would call it the Gatlinburg of the Midwest, about 40 miles south of us.
Yeah.
The dam burst and all the sand settled here into this lake bed site. So we're sitting on approximately anywhere from 50 to 200 feet of sand in this about 100 square mile region. And it's great sand, very fine, duny sand that creates a root zone unlike anything. The firmness just this sand provides once it's you establish some grass in it is it's the firmest surface I've ever felt. We can get 2 inches of rain, and within an hour, the ball's already just bouncing. Like I said before, I've told other people, like whether it's wet or not, people who aren't familiar with this site would never know if it's wet or not. It always plays so firm. The ball sounds like a pool table whenever it lands. It has that echoing thud that translates across the profile. It's great.
So, I mean, I look at this and think the establishment part has to be pretty hard, right? Like, um, I mean, was there a concerted effort to try to amend this in any way to get turf established? I mean, it's hard to find fescue on the beach, right?
Well, one of the things that fine fescue likes most is well-drained soil, and we definitely have that.
You got that.
And we do not do any amendments even to the greens. We are just going on straight sand. It's less than 0.5% organic material. I just did soil tested all 18 of my greens, and we're still looking great. We love just managing on the pure sand, and I think the fescue is all hydromulched. We've done it both ways. We've used a Brilliant Cedar, a hydromulch. We've Viconned it, thrown it out with a lily type spreader, dimpled it in with the Sand Pro, just like you would, seeding a green and then doing the dimple method. And it all works, but the hydromulch really is almost a guarantee you're going to get great established turf. And that's what, all the home lawns around here, relating to the home lawn, everyone here is, they build a house or redo their yard and they got this beautiful sand, and what do? They bring in all this composted dark stuff and, put it on top. And, and everybody here puts irrigation in their lawns. And, I always want to tell people, you really don't need that dark stuff. It's, a little good some organic fertilizers, they're just going to last for you a couple seasons, get you a little phosphorus in the bank, and then be done with it. And it's great. It's amazing to watch the grass grow on the sand. a beautiful site.
It's like the opposite of us here, Jimmy. Is everybody here asks me like, should I get some sand to put down on my, on my lawn? I'm like,
Right.
you know what clay and sand make, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bricks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, the simplicity of building a golf course here. Obviously, only one I've ever built, but redoing bunkers, greens, construction in the South. You're essentially working in a mud pit for the extent of that project. And here, that you're never muddy. It can be raining and you can still be, working, and it's sandy, but it's not this pure sand. And yeah, it's just we don't have one drain. There's not one drain stick in our property. Our drains, everything is just pure sand. So
Wow. Talk a little bit about the build, right? Isn't there a story that, I mean, I know the golf course you're at, the Lido, there's some history that this was once in New York, and then the golf course was kind of sacrificed by the military. And I mean, you could probably speak in more detail to that than I can. And then if I'm remembering things right, somebody built this on a video game, and that was kind of what they used to like rebuild this on your site in Wisconsin. Is that right?
sure. Yes. So I could, I'm not a very good historian or
That's okay. Horvath's a historian. He can fill in the gaps for us.
but if I know one thing in history that's pretty factual, it's probably the story of this. So, so the Lido was started to be built in, I think, 1908 or 1909 on Long Island, by C.B. McDonald, and Seth Rayner was his, what you want to call it, his assistant. And then they had the Lido architect contest, and this was Dr. Alistair McKenzie's first time he won the 18th hole here, was designed by him. He won the contest, and I believe it was Town and Country magazine. And so all three of those guys, were involved with, the construction and routing and architecture of the Lido. So it was done in 1914. They had to dredge, I think it was 200 million cubic yards of sand, because the original site was built on a kind of a swampy section of the island. And to move that sand throughout the site, they were using horse and buggy. So they moved 2 million cubic yards of sand through cart and buggy. And I'll just say this, that we've done the math. Brian Zager, who was kind of he's working with Tom Doak now on his Renaissance team. He did the cut and fill map, and I watched 4 to 5 40-yard haul trucks run around this place for 2 years, hauling sand and moving things around. And he calculated we moved 1 million cubic yards of sand. So they moved twice that with essentially cart and buggy, which is just incredible, to know, just the effort and the work ethic that those people had to build the course. So it opened in 1914 officially, went through some changes, probably wasn't the best time. Bernard Darwin called it the best course in the world. Many people said that it was great. And then, the times started to catch up with it in the 30s. The Great Depression hit, and then I believe it was in 1941 or 2, World War II. The Navy, can't remember if I believe it's the Navy. They essentially, it was in decline, and they turned the site into a airstrip, so to say. So the original hotel is still there. The original road that goes through the middle of the golf course is still there, but the site of the original Lido is now a neighborhood. And there is a kind of a tribute golf course built to it. It is called the Lido. That's slightly down the street, on Long Island. It's a public course, and but it's not the same routing. There's some of the same template holes in different locations, but it's certainly different. So this is an exact replica from the video game, which, if it wasn't for Peter Flory, who is he's a golf historian, a hobbyist golf historian and a big time hickory, hickory type, plays in the National Hickory Tournament. Great player, great guy. And he put this game into a modeling software and started to build it. The 3D rendering version, which is what is on the Lido's website, and you can play it on EA Sports. And so that, and then the plasticine model all came together, and then they basically took all that data and then plugged it into a GPS dozer. And so the cut and fills were done within 2 to 4 inches, and then the GPS dozer would come through and basically rough everything in. And then that's when Tom and Brian Schneider, who was the lead principal on the project, came in and put his touches to it. And if you look at the aerial maps, I'll have to see if I can find the comparison of the 19. There are 2 aerials of the Lido, one from 1926 and one from 1940, and you can just put ours side by side, and you can't. I mean, from the air, you can't tell the difference of the routings or anything. It's exactly.
Yeah, I think Tom said that the only thing that they had to adjust a bit was like some space between holes, just from a safety perspective, right?
That's correct. So some of the holes were widened for safety, basically tee boxes that were right next to greens. And once you really start studying the aerials and like kind of measuring off things, then you start to notice where, oh, I see, that they kept the shapes of where the original tee box was, for playability purposes and such. But they added a little width, mainly width, not any length, to accommodate for the safety concern. Because
So what is the length from the tips, Jimmy?
They did add the original Lido member tee, which is where we encourage all guests to play from, is 64.50, I think, and then they did add distance to make it. I believe it tips out at like 72.5. So.
Wow, 72.5. That's pretty beefy.
Well, I mean, in today's golf, anything, you're hearing of 8,000-yard courses now, and I'm excited. We're hosting the Wisconsin Amateur next year, and then the following year we're hosting USGA Mid-Am. So,
wow,
very encouraging. I can't wait to see see it get tested, the condition and just the course itself, to see if we can, because I'm not gonna say it's a fact, but I'd love to see the course try to hold it to par, as the leaders go.
So how long did it take? They did all the dirt work that you talked about, rough grade. What was the growing like? I mean, from like, how long was it? Any unexpected hurdles during that process?
I would think the wind was probably the biggest hurdle that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We at one time, I think we had 120 or 30 acres exposed of just raw sand, and that was a big challenge. We had, historically in Wisconsin, March and April are always the windiest months, and a lot of we blow out our system. So even for areas that didn't have irrigation yet, in March, we're usually about April 1st is when we can charge up. It's usually the kind of our safe zone date. And we had some erosion issues. This bunker's completely getting filled in with sand, sand blowing off site, causing. So we had two Dolphin water trucks that we were running, but you can still only get those in so many places. But that was, say, the biggest challenge for sure is just the dust and how you're going to control it, where to put fences up, and where you're going to seed, and where you're going to put irrigation. It's expensive to put irrigation in, and you're starting to irrigate these places that's not even part of the golf course, because we just got to, this is prevailing southwest wind, and we got to protect this area from blowing onto the golf course. So the first year, there wasn't a lot of that for me. in the irrigation design, and then the second year we added a lot of native, type irrigation to keep the dust down.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know over at Pinehurst leading into the US Open, Brandon and I were over there and they talked about that was a challenge for them, particularly in like the walk paths and drive path areas, because they were going to have so many people on site, ways to keep the dust down in that
Right.
situation as well. I can't imagine for something as big as you all are on that much sand, it had to be a huge hurdle. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you something, Jimmy. I told you I'm getting old. Oh yeah. So irrigation wise, water on site? Like how do you irrigate? You guys have a large irrigation pond on site or another
Yes,
source
we
of
do.
water?
So the north side of the property, there's a 13-acre lagoon that we that was part of the original Lido, and so that is installed with the membrane. So that was our first big undertaking, I'd say, in May of 2021 was starting the pond liner, because you need about 40 people to drag and get all that lined up so they can weld it together. And just assembling all the people, I had a staff of about 5 then, and then you need 40 people for 10 days to pull this pond liner, and just that was fun. That was probably I think that day we did the pond liner. The first day, we went through some like 3 different temp agencies to get, no drug test required, no background check required. And I had 78 phone calls by 9 a.m. And
Wow.
that was when it hit me about just what this project is going to entail. So met some great people, and we had a lot of fun.
So what did that translate into crew size now for a golf course as, let's call it, intricate as this? Like I imagine there's a lot of handwork. Like what's that crew look like today?
Credit to just the owners, the Kaisers. They're very minimalistic in what they want for a golf design. They don't want it. One thing I love about this whole property in general is that just things are designed to be low maintenance, and so compared to working in down south at some Fazio design courses where there's a lot of more, the edges are more important, where here things just kind of bleed out into a rougher landscape. And the sand is one of the main reasons we can really do that here. But we started last year. I peaked at 13, and then this year I had a great crop of interns. Have 5 interns here at the Lido this year, and I think on mow days we're running about 20. So
Wow.
a lot of good stuff. But we also have a lot of we're essentially at this point a 27-hole golf course. We have some I call them utility greens. So we have some home sites on property that have some turf features and backyard greens. So we also take care of the those utilities areas as well.
And do you have the ability to like take cup cuts out of those should you need it, or like do they serve as nursery greens for you, or is that kind of private for the people who live in and around the golf course?
It's certainly just more or less an amenity for those homeowners. We have we've established about a 20,000 square feet nursery this here at our shop. So we have a lot of bent grass on site, and fescue for that matter. And we did need some of it this spring, so I was glad to have it. Had a little bit of desiccation, as I was referring to the wind this spring, just couple little ridge tops that got dry in the first I think it was in April. We had some days that got pretty dry and windy out there, so it was nice to have a little extra turf.
Yeah, I know that's something, Becky, that you're interested in research wise now, right? The desiccation induced winter injury and use of wetting agents and whatnot for that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that out west we see wetting agents are used in fairway areas and other areas, year round, particularly for summer months. But I think here in the transition zone, it'll become more and more a question of using them in the fall and winter to protect those areas from desiccation.
Dr. Brosnan, if you scroll through those pictures and find that the green that is really scalped with tire tracks, we could talk about that. That was from this spring, and I think I got a little bit ahead of myself. It was Masters Week, and so I was like, "Yeah, it's time. Let's go." And I mowed greens several times that week, and they didn't like that, and so it was certainly a shoot yourself in the foot kind of situation. Yeah, this is just a picture of what, coming from the south, and this is what your green. I put this in just, this is where you just learn and adapt. Just this is what a lot of the greens look like in the spring. When we sprayed snow mold, it was 31 degrees because it looked like this was our last day. So I think there was a little bit of frost on the grass. So we tire tracked the greens, and then the green spot is from where we had the stakes around the green. We put the snow fence on there to actually gather snow on the greens because we want them to be covered. And this green spot's where the snowbank melted last. So you always melt out in the spring and find these, huge areas of green turf to where it is essentially once that first snow comes, and usually in December, inevitably on the other side of the snow fence from whichever way the wind was blowing, you're going to have 4 feet of snow. And that's going to be there for 90 to 100 days. It's not going to melt. And so that grass is just, under there happy, well insulated. And then the rest of it, you can see the ridge in the back, just the grass is white. So you get a very distinct 30 days of, everything looks a little different, makes you a little nervous, but then it all just comes right up.
You didn't learn that in Tennessee, did you? Man, that's a learn on the fly type thing if I've ever heard of one. Like learning how to snowbank your own greens to provide insulation and cover. Wow, that's kudos to you, man. That's creative.
Right. My first winter here was the first winter that we all decided that that's what we were going to do. And the couple years prior, they hadn't fenced their greens, and it's always dicey in March because if you have an arid March, and there's something about bent grass here on the sandy site when it gets those soil temperatures and it's ready to wake up, and it's it looks brown from a distance, but you get down and there's that little green shoot coming out. When it gets dry, I don't know if you call that desiccation or just like you can't tell, there's no color differentiation to tell that it's dry other than, this probing. And it's, we've learned that for us that, I mean, in one day, if we just say powder, if you're probing and you see a dry spot and pull a core and it's powder, that bent grass is set back from that. And if it goes another day like that, you're going to be chasing it until, we get full foliage on the trees is what we've seen. About that first week of June is when our trees finally, really pop. So we're typically 45 days behind kind of that region, I would say, down there, to where, it's always the first week of June when you look around, you're like, oh, it's full on summer, as far as the way the trees, the vegetation looks. So
yeah,
that brings back some memories, Jimmy, of snow fencing, because that's what we did on the golf course. I worked that back in Calgary, but it served two purposes: to build the snow up, because they could lose it in the wintertime, but we also covered the greens with straw, then a cover, and then snow fences. But it also kept the cross-country skiers off the greens, because in the wintertime, people are cross-country skiing on the golf course, and you just want to keep that traffic off of the greens, or from moose or elk or whatever are going to come, deer.
Right. We're lucky we don't have a elk or a moose population here. There are some elk in the area, but not any in this area we need to worry about. But yeah, we're lucky as far as the critters. Yeah, you go about 2 or 3 hours further north and up there around that border, and they have some of the more pressure and out west for that stuff. But yeah, it's always fun in the spring if you are just a little bit worried and you don't have your system on. There's usually every green has a deposit of snow still on it, usually in March. And we'll go and shovel that snow into 5-gallon buckets or a little tarp and drag it out, to a ridge or something and fling snow onto the snow chunks onto these areas, and makes you sleep better at night.
Snow dressing.
Yeah, we have a different what's the old saying? Paint them white, sleep better at night. We do that in March with the snow when we get
With the snow. Very good.
I gotta
Very
think
good.
that snow mold app is a matter of high consequence though. Like you got to get that down because if you miss it, there's no going back.
Right. I feel like our area doesn't have a huge pressure for snow mold, but certainly, the one picture I have of that Ventrac doing a snow removal on that green surface. It was on our nursery green. We had all of our utility greens get covered up last fall, the first week of December, and we hadn't sprayed them yet. I got a little nervous, so we went and we did a little bit of mechanical damage to them just to get the snow off to make sure that we could get that down. And then, of course, you do all that. You damage the greens, get your snow mold down, and then 2 weeks later it warms up to 50 degrees, and there's no wind, and say, oh well, we could have easily sprayed here. But you hear stories of people. Rob, our director, was in at Kingsley Club, and there was one November that he said it snowed like 18 inches on November 15th, and all the supers were like, it's gonna melt, it's gonna go away, it's gonna melt, and then they got stuck. Nobody sprayed snow mold, or some of the guys hadn't done it in that region, and they grew out of it. He said, but said it was pretty banged up in the spring.
Yeah, it doesn't usually kill turf to the ground, but it certainly doesn't look good for a pretty good long while. It's a lot like missing a spring dead spot app on Bermuda grass that has a lot of inoculum. It doesn't look good for a good long while before it finally grows out.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's interesting about that too, Jimmy, is you got to figure that at the Lido on that sand, and then you can describe the process, but that flipping that you guys did of the sand, you're bringing up, native sand that hasn't seen vegetative material in a long, long time. You probably didn't have much inoculum to begin with, so it'd take you a while to build up an inoculum base there to get to a point where you would see a lot of snow mold, it would seem.
Right.
Have you seen snow mold on the Lido?
Yes, we do. We get some very small. I mean, you got to search for it out in the fine fescue. Everything. Our greens are some of the super bents, and then our fine fescue super. We basically live with red thread, I would say, all year. That's what we call when our fertility is just kind of where we like it, and then it gets a little dollar spot, in the really high pressure phases, but our fescue has never seen or never does see a fungicide. And so for the greens, that's all we're spraying. For the snow mold is just greens. So but you do see little bits of patches here and there in the fescue in the spring. And if you have any bent grass contamination in your surrounds, which we're pretty clean right now, but some of the older courses across the street, we always say we love to see that bent grass getting chewed up with snow mold in the spring, because then it gives the fescue a chance to kind of choke on it a little bit. But it's we definitely see it, but like you said, it's never something we really worry about. Once you get your snow mold down, you're feeling good about it.
I got it.
Yeah, because it would seem like you would have like basically you've got the sclerotia, and the sclerotia puts up a little mushroom type fruiting body, and then those spores are going to be aerially dispersed. So at a place like the Lido, where you flipped all that soil over, you don't have much inoculum except from what blows in from other places, and that's probably not a lot. So I wouldn't expect that you would see a lot of pressure for a pretty good long time.
Right.
Yeah. You got to think the same's true with weed seed too. You can't have much weed pressure with that, right?
No, that's what, when they first grassed the first course, Rob didn't know what kind of catch they were going to get, what was going to come in. And I mean, we just get a mono stand of just fescue, you know, so it's this pure POA free stands of fescue. And you know, you do, after about a year or two, we'll start to see some, you know, dime size little, some of those annual POAs pop in that are super yellow and stringy, and then they go away. So we don't have any perennial type POAs, and I'm really, I would say, uneducated in the POA game right now because I don't have that pressure, fortunately. And we do a little bit of a, I would call it a preventative program on the green surfaces and the tee boxes, that non-par 3 tee boxes with some pack low. I feel that, you know, that's just some of the resort courses. It's always on the first tee. I don't know what it is about. I mean, it proves that it must come in on shoes, because
Yeah,
the
it's
first
that
tee
and traffic.
of every course, first it was Sand Valley and then it was Mammoth. They have a lot of POA pressure on them every year. It just seems to populate there in driving range tees. Just the first two places golfers go. It's where you're getting the POA.
It's been very interesting to me in my time at Tennessee to see how the let's call it regional difference with the acceptance of pack low programs in your part of the world versus in our part of the world. That there's um, just a comfort level that doesn't translate south, even as you get down and keep it on bent grass. And it's just in this region a really underutilized tool. But for
Mm-hmm.
you, I mean, yeah, it's almost like the icing on the cake. I got to think, you know, you talk about, what did you say? You had your fertility right when the red thread had kicked in, like, you know, keeping it lean enough, um, fertility wise, that if you're hungry and dry, that's going to be an environment that POA is not going to be real happy in.
Yeah, that's what we if we do start to see it, you know, we try to even take our fertility to another low and you know, burn it up, you know, try to really burn up isolated areas, that because the fescue, you know, we're 10-12 inch roots on this fine fescue, and it can go dormant. Doesn't like the traffic when it gets dormant, of, like, you know, certainly getting mechanical damage, you know, injury from a mower, or, you know, a foot track, or even a, you know, anything. It just, you know, we get the heat tracking that everybody thinks is a weed killer. It's always the best. You know, we're a golf resort. We have a lot of, you know, everybody gets a chance to give feedback, and just I love I try not to get too far into it, but one of the greatest things is reading, you know, when you have something that does not look characteristic of golf in America, but it's not, you know, there's that small percentage of the golfers that don't know this is what we're going for. Brown here is okay. The red thread all over the fairways is okay. You know, you'll sometimes read and see, you know, it was great except for the fairways, that there's dead patches everywhere, you know, and it's the playability, the texture, the rigidity is all still there, but it's just not green, you know.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah, when I was in the UK in 05 for our international meeting, I got to play Lytham and St. Anne's 3 times and stay on property. And I remember there were these 2 other Americans that were there, and then there were 12 Scotsmen that were there on holiday staying in our dormy house. And these 2 other Americans were standing in the pub looking out at the golf course and literally said, "This place looks like a dog track." And I'm like, you're standing on an open rota golf course saying that. You're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. But it was exactly like you were saying. It was brown and baked out, and like I think on the second hole as a par 4 along the rail line, I had like 145 yards into the green. The first day I hit pitching wedge, and it landed on the front of the green, bounced up over the back dune, and rolled down 35, 40 yards in front of the third tee. And I had like 60 yards coming back. So the second day, I literally like chipped a 7-iron, maybe 20 yards, and let it roll down onto the green. And it was just because it was baked out and brown, and it was awesome. But yeah, you're exactly right. That's not the kinds of conditions that most folks here see.
Right.
and don't understand that it's perfectly desirable.
I still, I enjoy playing, and I still struggle here because I grew up on mashed potato bent grass, essentially, just soft greens, except for, a month in the fall and a month in the spring. And, I'm long all the time because I still want to play that, I still want to play the Harvey Pinnock, take dead aim, approach
Yeah.
with yardages, and it hits the green and bounces over. And I've been here 6 years now and I still can't learn.
Yeah. One other technical thing before I kind of close this up here as we get to the end of the end of our time, Jimmy. One of the things I've been struck with as you've described the management up there and the uniqueness of the site is you probably don't need to use very much growth regulator. I mean, you mentioned trim it as like a POA control tool, but with keeping it lean and dry, I mean, is Trinexapac ethyl even part of what you guys are doing up there, or is that just not something that's needed?
That product is on the shelf, and it's I've applied it to green surfaces a couple times, more or less when in spring when I'm not happy with texture or clipping yield, or I put down a 0.1 of N, and it probably should have been more like a 0.04 or 0.05. I just really try to dial that texture and clipping yield. I don't beaker and weigh clippings. I just feel that I'm on the greens pretty much every day. I've played golf since I was 6 as basically a career. And, I'm old school in that, which I just kind of go off a feel with texture and how the ball, I carry a putter in my cart. I usually putt on a couple greens every day just to see trueness, smoothness, how are they rolling. I try to leave the wrapping on the stent meter. I don't like to get those out and just stare at numbers. Just like to really feel it out.
Good for you. That's a rare approach. That's nice to hear.
Well, I mean, it's. I think if the the conditions were a little more like bent grass in Arkansas or Tennessee, there I would probably use more of those those data analytical tools to help make decisions. But just that's one thing I love about this site is you really get a feel for the grass is so sensitive here to every little bit of fertilizer you put down, every little bit of PGR you put down, and everything we do is so low use that's what's nice about it. Like you were saying, that I just had a discussion with Matt Carson at the golf club last week about Taclo. I was like, I was just describing how we use it at low rate, 6.5 ounces an acre, and like we just see these amazing like texture changes and yield changes, and it lasts 30 or 40 days. And he said they're going at a different rate, and definitely not seeing kind of the results that I'm seeing. And it's just that region, the sand, the soil type, and just how the environmental changes can completely you have to adapt, and in any new site you go to, it's just it's that way. It takes a year or two just to figure things out, what's going to be best here.
I gotta think too, like being a short season, right? The decisions have more consequence, right? Like you said, you put out a nitrogen app that's a tick too high, and you're gonna pay for that for a longer period than you would want to when your active play season's already pretty truncated.
Or if you mow greens every day during Masters Week in the middle of Wisconsin,
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, the other thing, before we kind of conclude here, one of the things, like we said in the beginning, this has been our first alumni feature, and since Dr. Bowling has started, there's been a concerted effort to do more alumni engagement. You think that's fair, Becky?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that's also echoed in the Balls for Life group that we've got. I think Andy Perry's even on here today, but we've got some alumni that are really active in that way as well. So
yeah, and you want to share a little bit about, I mean, Jimmy already knows, but the Beacon event that's upcoming, I mean, and kind of the linkage there with alumni and what that's tailored to get after in terms of helping people with staffing issues?
Yeah, sure. So, and I know we've talked about this on here some before, but as we're moving through summer, it's good to reiterate. So we have an event scheduled for September 12th and 13th. That's a Thursday and Friday. And the focus for that event is really to try to bring together students, Turfgrass students in the region. So our undergrads as well as undergraduates at other regional colleges and universities together with the industry. And so really kind of acknowledging that we do have labor shortages, workforce shortages, and really trying to bring back, Jim, you and I have talked about this, that like historically field days were really about trying to connect students with the industry. And so really trying to bring that feeling to this event and create an opportunity to have rich engagement between superintendents, athletic field managers, and those working in the industry looking for prospective employees, students to come and do internships, and creating an opportunity to have some interaction there. And so the first day we will have something kind of like a career fair. That's really the best way to describe it for people to understand what it is. So we'll have a space set up at the Crown Plaza in downtown Knoxville, where employers will be able to set up essentially a booth with some interactive activities. We'll have students come through. We've invited students from, I believe, 8 other schools in addition to UT. And so opportunity there for those students to kind of move around the room. We'll create I'm working right now on a digital space so students can actually look at prospective opportunities before they come to the event. And that way we can even create hopefully an opportunity for employers to set up meetings with students in advance to talk about specific job openings, specific internships. And we'll end that first day with a reception, with some trivia, with drinks and hors d'oeuvres. And we've decided to kind of leave it open-ended for dinner so that employers that are coming, if you want to take students out, you'll have that evening to do that. And continue to have those conversations. And then the second day, we'll have some tours at our research farm, which will be really cool. We'll do a golf-centric tour and we'll do a sports turf-centric tour. And then we'll wrap up the event with lunch and beer. So.
Always a good way to wrap up an event. I wish we could wrap up this event with lunch and beer, but I don't know that that sets up well for what we're trying to do today. Well, no, thanks for sharing that, Becky. And I know, you sent the priority registration to the alumni first. Jimmy was one of those, and hopefully the Beacon event will help place students in jobs and fill labor needs and everything we hope it will grow to become.
And I should
Jimmy, you said
mention
you had
too-
5 interns this year. Do you have housing for them?
Yes,
Good.
we do. We purchased a hotel in our town. So we currently have, it's basically a hotel style dorm,
Nice.
Awesome.
individual rooms.
Okay. Nice.
I should mention too, Jim, that Ag Day, which is an event that our college hosts here for alumni and current students, will be the Saturday after Beacon too. So it's a good weekend to come in and stay and do a whole thing. So
The whole UT thing for the
That's right.
whole weekend. For those of our superintendent friends that are with us this morning, this is your GCSAA event approval code. This has nothing to do with pesticide credits. This has nothing to do with pesticide or pesticide application. This is only for golf course superintendent CEUs. The code is right here, your event approval code, 999-254-01-33608. You'll want to upload that to the GCSAA website to get your credits for today's session. If you are in the future and you are watching this as a recording on YouTube, you want to make sure that you list today's event date, July 2nd, when you put this into the GCSAA system. I'll leave that up for 1 minute, just so people can write it down if they need it. Okay. Well, Jimmy, again, I appreciate you coming on, and I know our team here has certainly enjoyed watching your career flourish since you've left UT. Man, you've made the program proud and continue to do so, and just wish you all the best for this season. And yeah, to continue to stay in touch. I know, like Becky kind of touched on, we're going to really try to grow our alumni network and do more alumni things and make you a big part of that.
Great. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you all and do it over the Zoom. It's great.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
And you guys need to come play golf every year. Say you're on your way.
Careful what you wish
Sounds
for,
good.
Jimmy.
Be careful. Be careful. Wisconsin, that's not that far.
No.
And you have a lot of places to play. You just opened a brand new one, right?
Five courses.
Didn't Sage Valley open recently?
Yeah, Sedge Valley
Sedge
just
Valley.
opened yesterday. So
That's perfect for you, Jim. Sedge
Great.
Valley.
Nice. We could do a whole botanizing adventure there. We could collect all sorts of different sedges. But all right, people want to eat lunch. This is going to go off the rails. I'm going to leave it there. Again, thanks for joining us, Jimmy, and we will be back in August for our next alumni feature. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.